This module was all about how to apply the troubleshooting methodology to internal hardware components that are exhibiting problematic symptoms, as well as problems related to storage. We talked about internal components like power, such as the inability of the wattage of the power supply unit to supply enough power to all the components in the machine. Now that might happen if you start upgrading components and, for example, start replacing things like high-end video cards, and you would get indications such as fans that have power to run, but not enough power to run other parts of the machine, or perhaps the machine not even powering up in the first place. We talked about problems potentially with motherboards, which could be indicated by random reboots, where you might have to replace the motherboard. Same with the CPU, especially if you get power on self-test or post messages or audible beeps that might imply that there's a problem with the processor. Perhaps it's not been seated correctly in its socket, or it simply failed. It's very easy to fry RAM chips even without knowing it by building up an electrical charge. So sometimes we might have to run RAM diagnostic tests to make sure that the RAM tests properly and that it's okay. On the storage side, it's important that we understand how to look at local versus network storage, as well as how to look at RAID controllers, redundant array of independent disks. Having an understanding of how these disks are connected to a system, how they're accessed either locally or over the network, and then, of course, how they are treated by the operating system is important with troubleshooting. Because often with disk storage subsystem problems, we have to consider whether it's a file system or software type of problem versus a storage media hardware problem. I hope you had fun in this module. Join me for the next module where we're going to talk about how to solve display and printer issues.